He never said a single word, not in his videos, not in his skits, not when the whole world was watching. He just looked at the camera, shrugged, and let his face say everything. That silence made him the most followed person on TikTok, 160 million followers, a brand worth nearly $1 billion. And then his wife filed for divorce and walked into that courtroom expecting half. What she found instead, the court looked at the documents and told her Khaby Lame owns nothing, nothing registered in his name, not a single asset, not one. And the internet has not recovered since. This is the story of Khaby Lame, the boy who went from losing his factory job during COVID to building one of the biggest personal brands on earth, and the divorce that just exposed something nobody saw coming. Stay with me, because this one goes places. Before we get into the divorce, you need to understand who Khaby Lame is, because if you do not know his story, none of what comes next makes sense. His real name is Khaby Lame. He was born in Senegal and raised in Turin, Italy, in public housing, in a family that had very little. He grew up working class, quiet, observational, someone who watched the world closely and said very little. In 2020, COVID hit, and like millions of people around the world, Khaby lost his job. He had been working in a factory. One day, the factory shut down, and he had nothing to do. So he picked up his phone, started making videos, and discovered something remarkable. That silence, delivered perfectly, is one of the most powerful forms of comedy on earth. His format was simple. Someone online would post an overcomplicated video showing a ridiculous way to do something basic. Khaby would recreate the simple version. Look at the camera, shrug, spread his hands, that was it. No words, no captions, just a look, and the entire internet lost its mind. Within 2 years of losing his factory job, Khaby Lame had overtaken Charli D'Amelio as the most followed person on TikTok, over 160 million followers, over 77 million on Instagram. Brand deals with Hugo Boss, Juventus, Binance, and more, from public housing in Turin to one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. That is the Khaby Lame story, a story that felt impossible until it was not. And then in November 2023, quietly and privately, he got married. If you are already feeling this story, you are in the right place. Welcome to Tales from the Psyche, where we go deeper than the headlines and tell the full story. If this is your first time here, subscribe right now and turn on your notifications. We bring you stories like this every single day. Now let's talk about the woman who walked into that courtroom and what she found when she got there. In November 2023, Khaby Lame married Wendy Thembelihle Juel, a Danish-South African model. Beautiful, private, someone who had been by his side during the rise but stayed carefully out of the spotlight. The ceremony was a Muslim religious rite conducted in Senegal in keeping with Khaby's faith and cultural roots. It was not a civil marriage, not registered with a government, a spiritual and traditional union. Fans who noticed them together were happy for him. He had built something extraordinary. Now he had someone to share it with. But by May 2024, just 6 months after the wedding, the marriage was already over. They had separated quietly, no announcement, no drama, just gone. The split stayed private for nearly 2 years, and then in early April 2026, Wendy filed for divorce proceedings and sought what she believed she was entitled to, half of everything. Now here's where you need to understand the full picture, because the timing of that filing is not a coincidence. In January 2026, just 3 months before Wendy filed, Khaby Lame had finalized one of the most extraordinary deals in creator economy history. He sold his company, Step Distinctive Limited, along with the rights to his image, his voice, and his behavioral patterns to a Hong Kong-based financial firm called Rich Sparkle Holdings. The reported value of that deal? $975 million, nearly $1 billion. For a man who 6 years ago could not pay his rent. Wendy saw that number, and she walked into that courtroom. This is the moment the internet exploded. Wendy files, seeks half, the proceedings begin, and then the court looks at the documents, and what they find stops everyone in the room. Khaby Lame's assets, his properties, his financial holdings, everything, are reportedly registered not in his name, but in his father's name. On paper, Khaby Lame owns nothing. Not the properties, not the holdings, Not what you would expect from a man whose brand was just valued at nearly $1 billion. The internet immediately had one reference point for this moment. Achraf Hakimi, the Moroccan footballer who went through a divorce in France in 2023. When his wife sought half his assets, it emerged his wealth was registered in his mother's name. The case went viral globally and sparked a massive debate about wealth protection, asset registration, and divorce law. Now the same conversation is happening again, but this time, the man at the center of it has 160 million people watching his every move. Social media went into overdrive. One post about the case on X got over 4 million views in hours. People on every side of the debate had something to say. Some said Khaby was smart, that protecting generational wealth is a legitimate strategy, that in many cultures and legal systems, registering assets under a parent or family trust is completely standard and legal. Others said Wendy was blindsided, that she married a man she believed was worth hundreds of millions and discovered in a courtroom that legally, on paper, he had nothing to give her. And then the story got one more twist. Here is the part that truly broke the internet. Because if Khaby legally owns no assets and Wendy came into the marriage with her own wealth, the question of the divorce settlement flips completely. Reports circulating online claim that Wendy Thembelihle Juel has a personal net worth of approximately $10 million. And according to some reports, because the marriage was filed in a way that could legally require asset splitting, Wendy may actually end up owing Khaby a share of her $10 million. She came for half of his $1 billion. She may leave owing half of her own. Now, important note here. Neither Khaby nor Wendy has officially confirmed any of these specific details publicly. His manager told Vanity Fair that the reason for the separation was unexpected and irreconcilable character incompatibility, and that because the marriage was a Muslim religious rite and not a civil ceremony, it may not even require formal legal divorce proceedings in the traditional sense. Some fact-checkers have noted that several viral claims about this case, particularly the specific settlement figures, have not been fully verified through official court documents. But here is what is absolutely real. The story is trending worldwide. The debate it has sparked about wealth, marriage, asset protection, and the creator economy is completely genuine. And Khaby Lame, the man who built his entire career on saying nothing, finds himself at the center of one of the loudest conversations on the internet right now. I need you to stop for 1 second right here. If this story is hitting different, if you never knew any of this, that is exactly why Tales from the Psyche exists. Hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps this story reach the people who need to see it. Now, because we still need to talk about what a $1 billion AI deal has to do with all of this. Let us go back to that January 2026 deal, because it is central to this entire story. Khaby Lame sold his company, Step Distinctive Limited, to Rich Sparkle Holdings, a Hong Kong-based financial firm. What did they buy? His brand, his e-commerce operations, his TikTok shop channels, and something that feels genuinely futuristic, the rights to build a hyper-realistic AI digital twin of Khaby Lame. An artificial intelligence version of him that can generate content independently. His face, his voice, his shrug, his silence, all of it reproduced by a machine without him having to show up. Nearly $1 billion for the right to replicate a human being digitally. Think about what that means for a moment. Khaby Lame sold his likeness, the thing that made him famous, the look, the shrug, the silence, to a corporation that can now use it forever. Generate videos, sell products, build campaigns, all as Khaby, all without Khaby. And 3 months after that deal closed, his wife filed for divorce, seeking half his fortune. Whether the timing is a coincidence or not, the internet has already decided what it thinks. The question financial analysts are asking is whether the deal structure and the asset registration under his father existed before or after it became clear divorce proceedings were coming. That question remains unanswered. What is clear is that a 26-year-old man from public housing in Turin, Italy, who lost his factory job during a global pandemic and picked up his phone to make silent videos, has navigated one of the most complex personal and financial situations in creator history. And he has done it without saying a single word publicly. Here's what I want you to sit with when this video ends. Khaby Lame built his entire career on a truth that most people miss, that sometimes the simplest move is the smartest move, that you do not need to complicate things. That silence, delivered at the right moment, says more than 1,000 words. Whether he planned the asset structure deliberately or not, whether this is genius or coincidence, the result is the same. His wife came for $500 million. The court found nothing in his name, and the man at the center of it all has looked at the camera, shrugged, and said absolutely nothing. Some people are calling it betrayal. Some are calling it survival. And some are calling it the most Khaby Lame thing he has ever done. That is the full Khaby Lame story. And if this opened your eyes to something the headlines are not telling you, then Tales from the Psyche is exactly where you need to be. Subscribe right now if you have not already. Drop a comment below. Whose side are you on? And share this video with someone who needs to see it tonight. I will see you in the next one.